So the FBI, judge, CIA, there's a document that it says through someone else's murder, suicide, murder, you forced a police officer to commit murder. Common sense says if you've committed murder, suicide, murder, the act of you murdering isn't an act of force, but your criminal decisions catching you. So they never claim that. As the death penalty goes through, the law takes that off the table, so the judge can't claim it any longer, so cop can't say that or claim it in court. So the law, how they're trying to argue the case, they're trying to say all things acquitted I get to live by. I get to live by it up front. Things I don't know about, and I get to defend that they're mine. And that's why they argue the law that way. So that's not what the law says. It sounds good, actually, and that's what they sold to a bunch of juries, and then the FBI, CIA, death penalty stepped in and told them what they're trying to fraud, what they're trying to con, is this statement, and they read a series of statements to a jury. So it's pretty horrible, and it's pretty horrible. The law actually calls it like horrifying, horrific. Everything the judge and the jury is being told by the cops is to produce horror. So, at one point in time, the cop tried saying that that's what I was doing. And so a judge brought up these murders and missing persons. Hey boss, can I bum a smoke from you? Thank you. Brought up missing persons and murder, and showed because bonds being issued properly means property is distributed. That's a reason for murder. A person could just not like a person and murder someone, but being free and having things, that's unplausible. There's always something to do, and because there's always something to do, it's implausible to calculate that people would just murder just because. And why wouldn't they say such in court? So there were some murders like that, believe it or not. But they actually produced that everything the cop and the police department's litigation was saying to the judge was just horrifying. It was a horror story waiting to be created. And they did like a give and take with the jury, because the cop called jury and they shot it down, they closed it. Cop called it again and they closed it. And the cop committing crime by force tried saying that that's part of the police job. It's proof, and they started attaching like all the murders called to get a jury and whatnot. And yeah, they're like, that you're guilty for. So the law doesn't say a murder in production is the producings of law. It says the murder and the producings of law by the production of murder. So they they committed a murder, said jury was formed. The law says the murder is legal when the law can't produce. So say I had a right to jury, I called jury, they said no, a murder happened, then jury formed. No, they committed murder and then formed jury by the murder and whatnot. So the criminal, they try to confuse that, but anyways, they pick up that everything the cop's saying is just a horror story. Everything behind what they're saying is just murder. You see no law, and you see no law being aided by murder. And the one cop, but there it is, murder and jury, and now here's the jury. Yeah, it's crazy. The physically and whatnot. So so where was I going with that? Practicing the law opposite. Their law says these people aren't involved. One of their claims, like homosexuality or whatnot, the law says if you're in the case and you're not claiming to be a defendant, you're claiming to be a defendant against the judge. No one else is around. So they try to commit a crime breaking in, and then through their murder, and that's why gist is illegal. In my case, there's actually the prevention of gist, as how there's the prevention of the blacks using the magistrate to communicate. It's illegal. Well, I didn't shut it down. The law says if they tried saying a black person was in my case, and the black tried using it of court or by court or whatnot, it was shut down. So anyways, everything they say is a horror story, and that's because they've committed suicide murder, and they're off committing an act trying to say that the law doesn't pick up on suicide murder. They even, and a judge, woman judge, which is criminal, male judge, actually is up for the death penalty. The FBI and the CIA said we're dealing with him. He's up for the death penalty. It came by him. He said, women are in there. We let women in. Another judge confessed. We put women in the civil case and whatnot. So, what? In the civil case, this judge let women in. The FBI and CIA are prosecuting him for the death penalty. Yeah. That's crazy. Law's a stickler about race, gender, all that stuff.
Check your temperature?
I don't think so.
Try your neck.
So, So, when you commit the crime of murder, suicide, murder, and you tell the law wrong, which is they actually brought full discussion according to education of their crime, is what the law deemed it, on the subject. So when you practice the law wrong and you go out into the community, you tell people to do things wrongly. And because nothing is distributed, you assume this person picked up on nothing and started building. And so the criminal sends people out to commit crime, and they say they're practicing the law and they're practicing the law properly, and they're not. And this is a reason the police department was shut down, and they don't have the letterheads of civil case anymore, or any of that.
But the door's still open there. The big guy.
In the corner, right?
If you see him,
How you doing? So you got a light? You got a lighter? I was gonna go upstairs grab a light.
oh yeah.
I'm sorry, not 43A.
Are you coming out?
Coming out. Okay. Where you headed? Where you headed?
If not giving nothing good for tonight, they should go, right?
I don't know what they're serving.
That's what I'm saying, we'll find out. If not to my liking, anything you could get money, try to get money. But try to wait for like last time. Try to rush over here and come back. Yes, sir?
Right.
Alright, y'all going, right?
Thank you. So so they went to court and tried saying that the civil case was wrong. The judges were teaching the law wrong. They were practicing it wrong. The cops were the only ones doing it right and whatnot. And then a judge started with the construction of law, male judge, and he said person's crime, and they objected. There's no such thing as a person's committing a crime. There's either the crime or nothing. And so the judge occupied their theory that that was how the law was practiced, and they used like robbery, murder, and they went off and were committing robbery and murder on top of it all. And the judge asked them, so as an officer, say you're doing an investigation, when do you bring a person into it? When do you bring me into it? When do you bring my person into the robbery? You know, you didn't catch me, you didn't see I was there, you don't have fingerprints, you don't know I exist, you have the robbery, you have the bank vault open, you have the money missing. When do you bring the person in? That shit, it could have fucking floated away. Wind could have blew through. It could have blew it all down the street. Rodents, animals could have broke in, ran off with it. And the law actually says person in it. So when do you bring a person and say that they're alleged without committing a crime, and they confessed that their path of investigation is not only illegal, but tells the community to participate inside civil cases illegally. So they were thrown out. So it's impossible for a community member to participate inside a civil case illegally, and I made a recording about it a few months ago. Law says FBI, CIA agent have to direct them illegally to do it. So the DOD had that guy killed, had a couple of them killed, a couple FBI, CIA agents killed. They were trying to say there's no civil suit. They had a CIA compiling that's under the civil case, so no civil case can exist. The DOD actually killed 3 CIA agents far from where the CIA would congregate. So it's pretty horrible. So anyways, moving on. So it's pretty horrible.